Good evening, happy Monday, and welcome to the #1 Group of Five college football show in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share with your family and friends. On this episode, NFL draft happened this past weekend. We're going to recap the numbers by conference, by team, by program, by NFL franchise that drafted Group of Five players. Of course, we got to talk about an all-time meltdown from Mel Kiper. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five guys, and we are coming to you live.
I admire how much focus and energy you're putting on this part of college football.
We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won, it's been a winner, and it's a special place, so it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Those across there, you want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Boy, Jeff, I would have bet a lot of money coming on this show today that you would have been wearing a Las Vegas Raiders black and silver Ashton Jeanty jersey, and you're not. What's the story? What's the deal?
I've already checked. They're not for sale yet. You can get one with the number 1 on it, but I want one with whatever number he's going to end up having. I don't think he's going to be able to get 2. Daniel Carlson was number 2, but boy, we did it.
What a day.
We did it. I mean, the Raiders have botched. I can't tell you how many first-round picks, even second-round picks, and they finally got it right. We finally got it right. The consensus can't miss pick. Now, if something crazy happens, that's just an outlier. But he was a consensus pick that the Raiders needed to get, and he's a Group of Five guy, and we've seen him live. You've seen him live twice. I mean, and it's just a phenomenal. Every time I hear the guy speak, I'm like, is there a better human being than Ashton Jeanty? I don't think so. So home run for the Raiders. I think the rest of the draft was phenomenal as well. I couldn't be more happy.
3 times. You've seen him twice because you remember now we went and saw him down at Memphis.
That's right. That's
you remember now at Memphis he had that hurt. He hurdled somebody.
I got on camera actually.
He had a big game down there too. Yeah, I mean I agree with you. Just in a draft that seemed like it had maybe less. I know nobody's a sure thing, right? Nobody's 100% guarantee. Seemed like less chalk than normal, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just didn't pay as much attention to the Mel Kipers of the world this year, but
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I will. Boy, he made sure you paid attention to him over the weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, man, I was so happy for you. I mean, obviously, I knew the Dolphins weren't going to get him. The Dolphins draft, I don't know, kind of one of those drafts. But yeah, I was so pumped to see Jeanty go. And you're right, man. Every time the guy talks, he's. I mean, there's just no. I don't know how you can not like the guy or root for the guy. I mean, just awesome to see them showing his parents and showing his upbringing and obviously his time at Boise State, and then Spencer Danielson being there with him. I mean, just incredible. And let me tell you something, Vegas.
We're back.
The guy had a pretty good game last time he played in Vegas, from what I recall. So look for many, many more for years to come.
Well, I said this on our show last week, but there was nobody else that we could have drafted in the first round that's going to have the impact that Jeanty has, specifically for the Raiders, that he immediately helps Geno Smith. Now you have somebody a defense has to worry about. He helps the offensive line because now the defense can't just sit back in coverage. So it helps your pass game. It helps Brock Bowers. It helps Jacoby Myers. Like, it helps everybody now that we're not one dimensional. And I think it takes so much pressure off of Geno Smith with some of the other picks we got in the draft. And now Geno, all he has to do is just sit back, play point guard, get it to your guys on the outside, turn around, hand it to the best running back in college football last year. I mean, you still had a couple squawkers out there on social media saying this is a terrible pick, but put Genty on any other roster in the entire country, and he's still going to be the number one back.
Like, well, Jeff, if they didn't get him, the guy they all wanted him to get was Shedeur Sanders, which he could have got him in the 4th round if he wanted to.
Still could have taken him, and we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And see, to me now, and I know typically quarterbacks, once one of them goes, they all start going, they all start dropping. But see, that's the risk, because you could have taken whether Shedeur or not, you could have taken a quarterback or anything else in the 1st round, but then you certainly wouldn't have been able to get Genty later. So you probably got a guy in the 2nd round that many Raiders fans thought you should have gotten the 1st. So you ended up getting multiple, positions of need versus just getting one. And especially if you get a quarterback, which is one, and it's a maybe, and it is a huge maybe if you go quarterback there.
Yeah. I mean, I think they got it right. I think the draft got it right. I don't think there was this vendetta against Dion and Shedeur and you heard me for the last couple of months. Yeah. I didn't think Cam Ward or Shedeur, either of them, were worthy of a 1st round grade. Now the Titans felt like Ward was fine. That's their prerogative. It did not shock me that he went as late as he did. I thought originally he was about a 4th to 5th round pick. Now he slid a little bit further, but man, I think it was about right. I don't think his skill set warranted, and we talk about this all the time, the circus and the distraction that came around it. Whether you like that reason or not, he was not good enough. He was not good enough to win the Big 12. He wasn't good enough to win the Heisman. You had the Heisman winner on your roster as your receiver, and you still couldn't win the Big 12. You still couldn't get your team to the playoff. Like, it's all there. And you look at his stats on the games, the tough matchups that he played. He crushed the teams he was supposed to, and he really didn't, especially against NFL style defenses. He disappeared. He made bad reads. Same thing with Cam Ward. They both got away with things in college. I don't think they're going to get away with in the NFL. Now, time will tell. We'll see. I don't really understand the Browns taking him after taking Dylan Gabriel. And you got like 4 or 5 quarterbacks on your roster at this point. So we'll see what happens.
The Browns are hoping that if the Browns go 1 for 5 on QB acquisitions, they might have a decent squad this year. Yeah. I mean, my God, they get Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco. They signed Jameis Winston this offseason, and you draft Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the thing. And this is, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I can evaluate quarterbacks the way Jeff can or the way any of these guys can. But I think what we've been saying about Colorado as a team and as a program was it was all manufactured hype. It was all media driven. All of it was. That's why when they won 3 games, they were already ranked when you had other teams that have been winning for years that weren't in the top 25 poll. So it was all media hype. And I think whether Mel Kiper and those guys, whether their evaluation was honest or not, they fell for the trap. And I don't think NFL GMs and execs and scouts, I don't think they ever had him as that. I think it was just all, again, media driven. It was all media driven how good Colorado was. It was all media driven how good Shedeur Sanders was. And so I don't, like you said, I don't think there's a conspiracy theory. I don't think, like, I'm not even one of these guys that's sitting up here and saying, well, it's because he's so cocky. I don't think that's the case, because I think Cam Ward's pretty cocky too. And he went number 1 overall. I just think they never had him there. And the media pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And now you have this faux outrage on social media saying that. Now, look, again, like everybody also made sure to mention on every network is How many QBs get drafted that late and turn out just fine? So he may.
Yeah.
He may. Now, granted, he's in a QB room that is like as deep, but not that deep. You know what I mean? It's all guys that are like, yeah, I guess they could be. Joe Flacco past his prime. Deshaun Watson hadn't been the same since all the allegations. Jameis Winston has had his moments, and then Shador and Dylan Gabriel both get there. So, we'll see. One or two of them ain't even going to be on the roster.
Nope.
So that's the interesting thing to look for here. One thing I'll say too, and who knows, maybe this was great camera work. But when they went to the Browns war room, they didn't look super excited. They didn't look like they just got their guy. And a lot of people were saying, owner stepped in and said, draft him, and the GM and everybody in there was like, guess we got to do it.
Yeah.
But
I could see
but
that.
again, yeah. Well, and here's the thing is what it'll do one way or another, if you're the Browns, is for good and bad, you're going to draw attention. You're going to sell a bunch of his jerseys. If he makes the roster, you're going to sell a bunch of merch for the fans. You're going to get some people that are hating, but those people weren't going to buy jerseys anyway. So you're going to get people to buy jerseys. You're going to get a bunch of, mentions on social media. So your brand evaluation is going to go up one way or another with picking him there. But man, which network did you watch?
I was on the plane for a lot of the last day.
Right.
So I flew back home to visit my family for a little bit, but ESPN or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was ESPN because that's all they had on
so
the
you had
Southwest
ESPN
plane.
and you had ABC. So you had the one.
Okay, so I had ABC. That's what it was.
So I watched the one that I found to be the best was the College Game Day guys with Reese Davis. And they the second and third day, they kind of mixed them up a little bit. But I like to listen into Nick Saban. I mean, for a guy, Nick Saban obviously he speaks for himself, but he coached in the NFL. And as a Dolphins fan, the reason he's not still the damn coach of the Dolphins is because the doctor failed Drew Brees on a physical. We got Dante Culpepper instead. So figure out how that worked out for all sides in that debacle. But man, it's crazy listening to these guys. And I know they prepare, but to have all the knowledge they have on every single player that gets picked, and listening to Saban and then listening to Louis Riddick. I like Louis Riddick when he does games. But Kuiper, dude, I mean, listen, 257 players got drafted over the weekend. And they spent 3 days talking about a guy that was drafted, 190 something or 180 something or whatever it was. I mean, they did a disservice to Cam Ward, who went freaking number 1 overall, and they just glossed over it like no big deal, nothing. And they spent the rest of the weekend talking about Shador Sanders. And if you're in that camp of the circus and you don't want all that, you proved why you don't take them. Yep. Because you look at the media circus around the guy that got drafted on the third day. And, and a Kuiper, I mean, my God, he's arguing. He's up there literally arguing. Reese Davis and Louis Riddick are trying to like, look, Mel, like the NFL, like the conspiracies around this. NFL owners will take anybody and will do anything if they think it's going to help them win football games
or make them.
That's why you got guys with felony charges all over the board in the NFL. The Browns themselves, you got a guy like Deshaun Watson who's got, a list 3 pages long of sexual assault. They got him and paid him a ton of money. They will take anybody. That D tackle from Georgia got drafted in the first round after, I don't know if I guess he didn't get charged for it, but a borderline DUI manslaughter charge. And so it's like you got all these domestic abuse, sexual assault, freaking murder, manslaughter. You think they care that a guy is cocky if he's good enough? They'll take anybody. So they obviously evaluated it and they weigh all those things and they say, we'll deal with it. He's that damn good. Or they say, we won't deal with it.
See, this is what I think it ultimately boiled down to. I ultimately think that, yes, number one, his talent wasn't good enough, right, to warrant the distraction. I think it was kind of borderline. But I truly, I mean, there's been a couple GMs that have or coaches that have come out now and said his interviews weren't good.
Yeah, bad.
So you pile on, and I haven't heard any reports that Cam Ward's interviews were bad. The reports for Shador was he got up on the board and he couldn't draw certain schemes, certain defenses, how to beat them. I mean, you have the talent, yes. You have the Sanders circus, and then you add on not interviewing well with the teams that were really looking for a quarterback. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's why he dropped. I think it was all the entire picture together.
Yeah, and we've been on this thing, the last few weeks about dads and relatives putting bad advice in their kids' ear. You also have where Dion himself came out and basically said he's only going to play for a certain few teams. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't do that on one hand, and then on the other hand, complain that nobody drafted you when you told half the league that you weren't going to go there. So,
well, the funny thing too is you brought up the Mel Kiper meltdown, right? And he talks about the NFL's got it wrong year after year after year about quarterbacks. They don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks. Neither do you, because I remember years back when you said, I will retire if Jimmy Clausen isn't a Hall of Famer by the end of his career. Where the hell is Jimmy Clausen now? And the point being is, it doesn't matter how you think about NFL players that are going into the draft. You're not a GM. You're not an owner. At the end of the day, they're the ones that make the decisions. So you can say that they're wrong all day long, but you're not putting any money and any skin in the game, signing these guys, drafting these guys. You're just a man with a microphone giving your opinion. It doesn't make you really right or wrong. The people who have to make the decisions are the ones in the NFL, and you ain't in it, buddy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If he was as good as he pretends, he somewhere along the last 40 years of him doing that show would have been, he'd be a GM in the NFL, and guys like Louis Riddick have been there, have interviewed, have at least, had the opportunity, and Kiper is nowhere close. Yeah. What was the first one? What was the first one he said that kind of made his name is when the Colts drafted Marshall Faulk instead of a quarterback.
I can't remember.
It was like, it's Harbaugh, I feel like, or Trent Dilfer. It was like somebody that, made a decent career, but not Marshall Faulk, not Hall of Fame. And that's when he said, that's why the Colts will be, back here again every year. They're, he said the same type of thing. They're clueless, this and that. It's like, and it was the Colts owner or whatever said, who the hell is Mel Kiper?
Was it Irsay?
Was it Irsay? I don't know. I don't think it was Irsay.
No.
He wasn't. I don't think he was around yet. But anyway, I mean, it was
a coach for Tampa. He was, what's his, Arians? Was it Bruce Arians?
No.
I can't remember because he was with the Colts for a while.
Yeah, but this was
years ago.
It was like their owner or GM, but I don't believe it was Jim Irsay. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I mean the whole thing. Like I get it. It's TV, right? But man, I think they did such an injustice to every other player that got drafted by doing everybody that got drafted. The Ravens freaking draft Mike Green in the second round, and he's comparing Shador to Lamar Jackson. The Dolphins draft somebody, he's comparing them to like all time, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, like all these guys. And it's like, all right, Mel, like maybe, but pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah. And it goes back to what I've been saying this now for a long time. I think we're going to continue to see this with quarterbacks. They're getting more and more difficult to evaluate because of the way the college offenses go and because of the transfer portal, because they're never learning. Tom Brady said it. They're never learning the position in a system. They're just out there playing off sheer talent, and it's going to get harder and harder to evaluate. And, a couple people have said all this stuff about, the NFL, when they interview these kids, it's all about how much do you love football, right? You know what I mean? They talk about that all the time. And all these guys are getting cashed out now. They don't need to go sign that second deal to get paid. They already got paid. So it's going to be, I think you're going to keep seeing this. The quarterback is going to be, it's harder to evaluate. They're not as good. We're seeing it in the NFL. You see, matter of fact, wasn't it Mel Kiper that wanted to ban cover 2 this year because the QBs couldn't figure it out?
I think.
There you go. Wasn't it Mel Kiper?
I think you're right.
So it's like they're not the QB play is not as good across the league. So I think you're going to see more and more teams like your Raiders that are going to go get these guys, veterans, pretty good, Geno Smith types, Joe Flacco types, right? And they're going to try to build a roster around it because you're taking a guess. You're literally taking a guess with a quarterback in the first round. And you can go get Ashton Genty in the first round and still go get a QB in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I mean, hell, Dolphins drafted Quinn Ewers. I mean, my God, I don't know what we're, but that's a perfect example. Quinn Ewers, 5-star, best recruit in the country coming out of high school, goes to Ohio State on an NIL deal, never even enrolls, I don't think, then goes to Texas. He's everything. I mean, he hell of a career at Texas. I mean, he still fell to the Dolphins in the whatever round, 5th, 6th round. So anyway, I think that's what you're going to see. Before we go any further, we got to plug Gridiron Spice. Jeff, I did some chicken thighs over the weekend. I'm all on that varsity blend. I gotta switch it up and you do more of the other stuff. But I did Saturday, I made burgers, the varsity blend. Then Sunday on my meal prep, I did a big tray of chicken thighs, the varsity blend. But if you guys haven't checked them out, Gridiron Spice Company, they've got 4 different seasoning blends. Go to gridironspiceco.com and use our promo code GOFG for 10% discount. Make sure you check them out. So here's what we got, Jeff, by the numbers. Had 18 group of 5 guys drafted. Not bad. Obviously, Genty, the only one that went in the first round, and then they kind of started falling on that second day a little bit with the Mike Greens, the Siobhan Revels, and, that group that we thought might have a chance to go in the first round ended up falling to the second and third round, all of those guys. Boise State and Tulane, no surprise there. The only 2 teams with multiple guys drafted. Boise with Genty and Ahmed Hassanin, and then Tulane had Caleb Bransaw and the other DB.
Micah Robinson.
Yes. Yep. So they had 2 each. No surprise. I mean, 2 programs that have kind of been top tier group of 5 programs over the last few years. Been able to keep some guys, been able to develop some guys, and they both get 2 drafted. By conference. So this is interesting here. So the American and the Mountain West both had 6 guys get drafted, 6 apiece. The MAC had 4 guys get drafted, and then Conference USA and the Sun Belt with 1 only. Sun Belt, Mike Green going second round to Baltimore, and then Conference USA, Western Kentucky, Upton Stout going to the 49ers at pick 100. By the way, Western Kentucky, I can't remember the exact stat. I think only group of 5 team in the country that's had a top 3 round pick the last 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on their Twitter.
So Western Kentucky, I mean, I know Liberty's come in and been, they won the conference, but Western Kentucky's kind of been the steady class of that conference now for about a decade, really.
Yeah, I mean, they've been by far the most consistent program, I would say, as far as putting out talent to the NFL year in and year out and just staying atop of the conference, right? Being very, very consistent. How about the MAC, Sprouse? The MAC gets a lot of hate, and we talked about this, this morning. But man, they churn out NFL talent now. I mean, they just year in and year out, they'll have a handful of guys that get drafted and a lot more that get, signed as free agents. I think the MAC deserves a little more respect.
I absolutely agree with that, Jeff. Especially, especially Toledo. I mean, obviously with Quinyon Mitchell last year, and then Darius Alexander going second round this year. He might have went third round, but I mean, they put him out. Maxon Hook goes to Philly to join Mitchell as a free agent. And then Central Michigan puts out another guy. We talk about Central Michigan's history of offensive linemen the last 10, 15 years getting drafted early too. Now, not all, it's not, these guys are not all late round guys. This year it was, but you go back to Joe Staley and Bernard Raymond, Eric Fisher going number 1 overall out of Central Michigan. The MAC, everybody sits there and talks about the MAC as this lowly conference because they play on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I'm telling you, that's all it is. Because when you look at all the things that we look at NFL talent, rivalries, regional rivalries. You let them boys play on a Saturday and they will pack the stadium.
Yep.
You let them play on a Saturday afternoon instead of a Tuesday night in the middle of October. You let them play on a Saturday, you let them have a rivalry game, and they're packing the house. These guys go to the NFL, and we see it every year. Hell, Grisham's been saying this for 5 years. Get the MAC into bowl season. They're beating everybody.
No question. I think that we got to give the MAC their due. Give them more credit. And I'm going to say something maybe a little controversial, just because we had some back and forth, some Memphis fans a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I can't remember, but the Memphis, I feel like, is a program that I think they got a little snubbed this year, but again, their ability to get guys into the NFL, at least especially this year, is kind of like how their season goes. Like, they should have a couple guys get drafted. It ended up being the Mr. Irrelevant was the only guy drafted in Kobe Minor. So I don't know. I thought Rock Taylor and Hennigan was going to get.
I thought he was going to get drafted,
but no,
I
got picked up.
For this year, I'll give you that. But you look across the league right now in Memphis, especially at running back.
Oh no, for sure.
I mean, they put guys now, and they put to me what it screams is, it's like what we've been talking about is they have all these NFL guys, and they just there's just that one. I mean, it's one. It's like every year there's just that one game, and I know the fans. Memphis fans, they'll agree with us there. I mean, that's not a knock on Memphis. They'll sit there and say that's why they should fire their coach. It's probably what they'll say. But, I agree. I thought Hennigan would have got picked up.
We did get picked up, but drafted.
I thought he would have got drafted. I thought Rock Taylor, which I didn't even see where he ended up signing.
Pittsburgh, I believe.
But yeah, I mean, for Memphis to be one of those top 2-3 teams in the American year after year, you'd have thought they'd have 2 or 3 guys get drafted. And then, I thought Chandler Martin should have gotten drafted too. Mm-hmm. I saw he went somewhere too, but I thought he'd be drafted. I thought that Memphis defense was really good. I thought they had a bunch of guys that could have gotten drafted on that second or third day. But again, I'm not an NFL GM, so I'm not going to have a meltdown like our boy Kuiper did about these guys.
No, I'm with you. Well, and here's another point I want to bring up, and we talk about it, one of the reasons we started this show, right? Like, you can get to the NFL staying in a group of 5 program, having great film, having great tape. And I should have counted these before, but over 20 players that were either from the group of 5 or an FCS level that transferred to the Power 4 and got drafted. So the point being there is, imagine if all these guys like Matthew Golden, Trey Harris,
Cam Ward stays at Incarnate Word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jalen Lane, Quincy Riley, both MTSU guys. Like, imagine if the group of 5 was able to keep those players and build on that roster.
Well, Jeff, yeah, because when Quincy Riley and Jalen Lane both got drafted, I sat there and I thought, man, Quincy Riley, Jalen Lane, Upton Stout, those Western middle games that are already great games, throw another 2 NFL guys, throw an NFL receiver in there and an NFL corner on middle's team, Yep. And that's across the board for all of these teams. I mean, how many guys go and we'll have to get somebody that's a stats guy or has the time and willing to put in the effort. Yeah, I mean, of the 257 drafted, how many of them played significant playing time in the group of 5? I mean, hell, you talked about FCS, Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Travis Hunter, FCS guys, Scattaboo, yeah.
Sac State.
I mean, where'd he go? He went Giants, no?
Yeah, New York Giants.
Spot for him. Well, who'd you think? So of all these, and then also another little stat for you: the Jacksonville and Seattle are the 2 NFL teams that drafted multiple group of 5 players this year. Jags getting Ransaw and getting Lane from Navy. How about a Navy guy getting drafted? See, they didn't used to be able to now.
Yeah.
I remember when that was a big thing. And then Seattle drafting freaking Torrey Horton and Ricky White. So
I think
Good
those are
luck.
both good spot with those guys. Hey, you got to throw my Raiders in there because they took Genty and then they took Tommy Malott from Montana State and then they took Cam Miller from North Dakota State. So the two best FCS quarterbacks going to the Raiders. And they also took an offensive lineman from William and Mary. The point of the story is, boys and girls,
If you can ball, you can ball, man.
That's it. Just ball out. Ball out. The NFL will find you if you got stats and film.
Yep. Well, so who do you think outside? So obviously Genty, right? But who do you think of these 18 guys ended up with like who's got the best fit where they're going? Who do you think?
I'm gonna go Jalen Royals with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think he could have gone to a better place with a better quarterback on a better offense that is going to know exactly how to use his skill set. I mean, we saw it last year when I'm blanking on his name, the SMU quarterback, or 2 years ago. What's his name? White, I think, from SMU, who went there and crushed it, but then ended up getting in some legal trouble. So you get Jalen Royals going to the Chiefs, a dynamic playmaker like that, who Andy Reid is going to get the ball and freaking Patty Mahomes is throwing him the ball. And this hurts me to say it as much as I'm a Raider fan. Like, I'm going to be root for Royals.
I know. Well, I agree with you on Jalen Royals because, how many times, how many times have
Rashi
the Chiefs...
Rice, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah. How many times have the Chiefs done just that, right? You think, Tyreek Hill's not there anymore. They're going to, nope, don't skip a beat. Next man, next guy. And now here's Jalen Royals going to come in there and probably be the next guy. He goes to a perfect spot. And what that is, Jeff, is a perfect example of what we talk about. We especially talk about it with quarterbacks, but it goes for anybody, right? When you go to the right situation, I mean, he's got a chance to have a career in Kansas City and just play right along with Mahomes until Mahomes hangs it up and have himself a freaking, all-pro career where he could have went to a team like the Browns that's got 5 quarterbacks and they don't know which one is going to play and just get lost in the shuffle and, hang around for a couple years and then, play at a couple places and then not make it. And it's that easy. And a lot of these guys, that have fantastic careers, it's based on the situation they get in, the team they have, the roster they have, the coach they have, the development they have, the general manager they have that's willing to spend or is able to manage the cap a little bit. I had Jalen Royals as a best friend. I'll tell you, though, I had a bunch of these guys. Mike Green going to Baltimore. I called you about this. I know the Ravens are not, when I think Baltimore, right, I think of playoff football, Steelers, Ravens. It's like Maction, right? Steelers, Ravens, late January. It's defense.
13-7 ball game.
Ben Roethlisberger's fat ass out there with a snow glove on playing quarterback. I know they're not that. I know the Ravens are not that anymore. But, man, Mike Green, if he doesn't scream Baltimore Ravens defense to me, and you look at, that poor Browns quarterback room and Joe Burrow and that Pittsburgh quarterback room, Justin Fields or whoever, I don't know who they got now.
Talking about bringing A-Rod in.
But, I mean, you look at Mike Green across the line, I mean, and to be able to get him second round that late in the second round, big time pick. He is going to have, again, a great career. You go to a place like Baltimore or Pittsburgh that's got a coach that's been there forever. They develop guys. They draft well. They sign well in free agency. You're in a great spot, man. You're in a great spot. You're going to have an awesome freaking career in Baltimore.
Yeah, and Harbaugh, he's just a great coach, right? He knows what special teams is tough. Their defense, it's not what it once was, but damn it, they're still good. And he's got, plenty of guys on that defense, linebackers, and on the other side where he's going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups against tackles. And that's where he's got to make his money. He's got to be able to win those one-on-one coming off the edge and get some pressure on these quarterbacks. But yeah, it's a perfect fit.
I'll tell you one that's an interesting fit, and it might not be a great fit long-term, but I think it could actually help him early. And that's Harold Fannin going to the Browns. And because They are going to spend all camp trying to figure out which quarterback they're going to go with. So Fannin is going to have every opportunity for them to say, hey, you know what? Whichever quarterback is here, or one of those quarterbacks, hopefully they've all already called or texted him and said, hey, look, hopefully Shedeur Sanders, if he wants to be the guy, hopefully he called him and said, hey, man, let's get together because come camp, you're going to be my guy. And he gets a connection with any one of those quarterbacks, and he could have himself a nice season coming up this year.
No, I'm with you. Sorry, I was looking at something.
Were you looking at the Miami Heat score? Because my God, I mean, you want to talk about they've been selling all this Heat culture, Jeff.
What's the score? No, I wasn't. I was looking at draft
when I turned it off, it came up here. Oh my God, it's even worse than it was. It was something like 22-4. It is halftime, Jeff. They are down 72-33 at home in a game 4 where they're going to get swept. The regression of Bam Adebayo has got to be studied. I mean, that guy has regressed year after year after year. And
I think the Don has just lost a step. Can't evaluate talent anymore.
He hadn't lost a step. The problem is these guys are too soft. They can't handle.
That's
Pat Riley.
I agree with you. I think
that's part of it. And he won't change.
The player I was looking for, who I think is going to get a lot of opportunity, is Zoff Frazier from UTSA, the corner. Going to the Bears, they needed help in the back end. I just think he's going to have a lot of opportunity to get on the field, and the guy is just fast, long. Like, he's going to get some opportunities. And we know with Caleb Williams on the offensive side, that defense is on the field a lot. So he's going to get tried real early and real quick. But I think he can answer the bell. I think he can be a great corner for the Bears.
Yeah, one too that I think is a perfect fit, specifically because of his head coach and the personality, is Hassanin going to Detroit. I mean, when you watch Hassanin at the combine screaming at the position coaches and just like, and I told you, man, you remember when I was down in Statesboro and I was texting y'all pregame and I was like, Hassanin is like walking up and down the sideline, hitting himself in the head, like talking to himself, saying like, I'm a bad MFer. I'm a bad MFer. And I was like, this guy's a psychopath. Well, Dan Campbell, I mean, talk about a guy that can match that energy.
No doubt.
I mean, I think, and I'm sure Dan Campbell, when he saw him sitting there at 196, was like, I've met my match and we've got to get this guy. Different shade of blue going to Detroit. And look, Hassanin, you're on a contender right away.
Yeah.
You got a chance to go win right away.
And it takes a pressure off a lot of those guys, right? Like, you can just go in and play, man. You got great players on that defense. You get an opportunity on a third down because that's what you are. You're a go after high motor, get the quarterback type player. You got to get home and you got to affect the game.
The other two that I had, and it's just because they both went to the same place, and that's Ricky White and Torrey Horton both going to Seattle. I mean, those two guys, Ricky White's got such an advantage because we saw him block, 4 punts this year?
Yeah.
Something like that. And
sure.
Countless others that he should have blocked that the punter, gave up on. So he'll make a special teams regardless, I think. But, I mean, him and Torrey Horton both got a chance, in my opinion, to be longtime NFL receivers. And, my God, if you could keep them on the same team in Seattle, you got two for a long time.
Yeah. No, I think they're, again, with, the departure of some of the veteran receivers the last couple of years, you got Sam Darnold at quarterback up there. So trying to incorporate, a new quarterback, some new pieces in the offense. I think they're going to get opportunities to show what they can do. And we know that they're fully capable. I mean, they can go get the deep ball. They can run under, once they get the ball in their hands underneath, they can take it to the house. So in both of them, Horton's a phenomenal punt kick returner. You talked about Ricky White coming off the edge, going to block punts. So I hope they get a great opportunity and seize the moment.
I mean, I think they will. I know we talked about some of the Memphis guys. Anybody that didn't get drafted you thought would have, or you thought got snubbed? I got two, but I'll let you go first.
I talked about Seth Hennigan. I thought he would get drafted late, 6th, 7th round. He didn't. I think the biggest snub out of all of them is Nick Nash, receiver out of San Jose State.
Yep,
eventually, gets signed by Atlanta, which is an interesting situation. But you got the leading receiver, the Biletnikoff Award snub, doesn't even get drafted. And he had 3 different quarterbacks last year. How is this guy not getting drafted? Just I guess because he didn't run a 4.3 40, but the guy's big. He's got great hands. He runs strong routes.
Yeah, I had him, and then on the other side of the ball, I had Sean Dolak out of Buffalo. I mean, how does that guy not get drafted, leading the country in tackles? Which, by the way, on a side note, I did not know that Murdoch was coming back for them this year. I mean, he was right there with Dolak, the two of them, and he's coming back. That guy's about to have a field day. But yeah, I think Sean Dolak ended up in L.A. with the Rams. Hey, good spot. Yeah. Nice to have somebody like Aaron Donald taking up the interior on the offensive line for you. So,
yeah, McVay's shown the want to allow guys. It doesn't matter where they're from. If they can play, they can play. So hopefully he gets an opportunity. The only thing I worry about, just the wear and tear on his body. I mean, with that many tackles, I mean, you've just been in so many head-on collisions the last, 4 or 5 years or however long he was. I feel like he was at Buffalo forever. So that's the only thing I, little worry about him there. The other one I had that I thought was going to get drafted, probably I thought 5th, 6th round, at least 7th, was Clay Webb. The lineman ended up getting signed by Denver, but I thought he's one of the best offensive linemen, in the group of 5 last year, and just doesn't get drafted. But guys, let's be honest here. Whether you get drafted in the 6th, 7th round and you're undrafted, there's not that much really of a difference.
Well, you have a little bit of a benefit. I know it's cool to get drafted, right? I mean, that's what you want, and you live for those moments. Which, by the way, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, Jeff. I get emotional watching them with their families getting the call and stuff, because I just can't imagine. I cannot imagine that moment. We probably talk about this every year around the draft time. And when Josh Walker was on the big board, and humble Josh Walker is at our apartment. It's me, Grisham, Nunez, and Chuck Butler, and we're sitting on 4 lazy boys watching the draft on a freaking, those big ass square box TVs from the 90s.
TVs.
Yeah, we're watching the draft on there, and we're sitting there with Walker. Of course, he's taking phone calls, so we're all boozing, drinking King Cobra's 40 malts, and I mean, the guy's getting every phone call from Detroit, and I remember Andy Reid called him at one time, and we were like, this is the coolest damn thing like I've ever seen. And then he didn't get drafted, of course, and then I think he went to Indianapolis right after. But that was the thing. So he didn't get drafted, but then he's sitting there taking phone calls, and he gets to pick at that point, right?
Yep.
So then you can look at things. What did we talk about last week when we were in the controversy of Joey Aguilar? You get to look at the room, right? You get to look at the depth that they have, and you get to see, hey, where can I go and make this roster? So that is a little bit of a benefit, because your pay is not going to be a whole lot different at that point. You drafted in the 7th round versus being a free agent. So some of these guys, you get to pick your spot essentially. So it might work out a little bit better for them. But yeah, not one O lineman out of the group of 5 drafted. So that's an interesting.
You had a couple FCS ones. Though.
Yeah, definitely. Well, North Dakota State puts 1 or 2 out every year.
Yeah.
They had a 1st rounder, didn't they, this year?
Yeah.
First or second?
It was, yeah, I think it was 2nd.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it's coincidence. I'm interested to see. We'll have to go back and see how many group of 5 guys were drafted last year, the year before, and see, because a lot of people are saying with the portal, this number is going to get less and less and less. Although I thought 18, pretty good number. I thought watching it, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, other than probably Dolak and Nick Nash and maybe Hennigan, like everybody that I thought was going to get drafted, and especially drafted early, did. I mean, in the first 2 days, and then you had a few that I didn't necessarily pay a ton of attention to that also got drafted. So I thought group of 5 had a pretty good showing.
No, I agree with you. I think they had a real good showing, and interested to see once the revenue sharing comes into play. They still haven't settled it, by the way, in court. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. July is right around the corner. To see if we get any, less movement in the portal now that, some universities are going to opt in and be able to pay with university funds. I think that might have a little, give it a little help with that number climbing back up to maybe where it used to be. I mean, but I listed off a handful of those guys that were at the group of 5 that ended up going to the Power 4 level and got drafted. Like, I mean, they started in the group of 5. I think they deserve to get credit for that because they don't have the platform anywhere else. They started on a Power 4 roster. More than likely, they would get lost in the shuffle because they were too small or whatever the case may be. So I mean, if you throw in those additional 20 to 30 guys that were at the FCS or group of 5 level, I mean, hell, you're creeping up near 35, 40 players.
Here's what I want to make sure we know, Jeff. My favorite book, Brands Win Championships. About all these things. But every school, like I look at all these guys, outside of Genty, were any of these guys, like, did these schools do a good job educating their fan base on what type of players they had in their stadium on every Saturday? That's what we got to make sure.
Yeah. I think for the vast majority of these guys, I think they're within their fan base, they did. I would say that all these guys are pretty well household names at, their schools and in their communities. Now, national, no.
Yeah.
But that's just because the national media pushes the narratives and the coverage that they want. That's, hell, that's why we started this thing, right? So, outside of, I would say, Genty, you had Mike Green, really, once the draft process kind of started and the Senior Bowl. I think Harold Fannin had some pretty good coverage there. Outside of that, I mean,
and I will say, in everybody's defense, it's really a lot of DBs, and
yeah.
It's difficult to, let's be honest, you're gonna play 60, 70 snaps a game. You're probably gonna get the ball thrown your way 4 or 5 times. You make 2 or 3 tackles, so it is tough to promote that. But I think as a whole, in every school in the group of 5, we need to do better about those kind of things.
No doubt.
We need to be, because fans want to be able to say, "Oh yeah, I remember watching him in college," and not in 5 years they got somebody on their fantasy team and be like, "Oh, I didn't even know he went to UTSA." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So anyway, I know we got a couple voicemails, Jeff, we got to get to, and then we'll get out of here. You guys, look, end of April, season's coming around the corner now. We're going to have to, Phil Steele has probably got his magazine about done. He's probably going to have to do one more edit after,
really.
spring portal and all that stuff. But it's coming. Season is coming. So make sure you call that hotline with predictions, with hot takes, with trash talk. 615-900-4286. Okay, I want to hear from Creme Brulee. I want to hear from Steeple. We hadn't heard from in a long time. We got Terry Johnson last week. You get some of these guys, some of these regulars. Where's App State Fanatic? We got to get him in.
Yeah, we haven't
here
heard him
again
in a long time.
Yeah, all of them. So we got to get everybody to start calling. But 615-900-4286. Jeff, see what we got.
Group of 5 guys, Josh Bevel here. Couple of things. I got a little Georgia Southern update. Man, we've got a lot of freaking guys in the ping portal right now, and I hate it. A lot of guys in the D-line room on the freaking portal. And, you can go look it up who it is. I'm not trying to name any names or whatever, but, some of these guys are getting, poached. They're getting talked to before, they even enter the portal. And, they're getting offered a ridiculous amount of money that we simply can't compete with. And, I hate it. It is what it is. They're going to compete for a job versus being the dude in Statesboro, Georgia. But, guess that's not my decision. I'm not a coach. I'm not a player, but it is what it is. But anyway, that just irritates me. But, Jeff, how about them Raiders? How about them Raiders? non-bias, honestly, it is, of course, a little biased because you being a Raiders fan and Genty going to the Raiders, but Raiders had one of the best drafts, in my opinion. Like, of course, don't listen to Mel Kiper. Of course, he gave the Cleveland Browns an A+. Gosh, that guy's an idiot. But, Raiders had a good draft, man. I mean, y'all signed Dom Boyd, Georgia Southern guy, offensive tackle. Hopefully it works out for him. And, y'all's assistant D-line coach, Rip's up there. Rip Rowland's up there. So y'all got some Georgia Southern boys on the squad. But yeah, that's about all I got. And last thing I got is I'd hate to be Shedeur Sanders. See you guys.
Appreciate you, Josh. I mean, without being a little biased, yeah, the Raiders, I think, had the best draft out of any team.
Did you see Gruden get the Georgia Southern box today?
Yeah, I did.
Great.
That was
Or you see, he drank the water.
I missed
that.
So I must
at the very end, he takes a swig of the water from Eagle Creek. I do want to say, Gruden's box a lot bigger than the one I got. but hey, that's fair. But yeah, dude, he's like, what's this? Let's give it a try. He takes a swig of it, dude, and he's like, pretty good.
That guy's a walking encyclopedia, dude. The names he rattles off and coaches, and
he named off. Not only was he naming off coaches and players, he's naming off their head coaching record, what years they were there.
We gotta get this guy in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, with Irk, that was good. Yeah, I mean, just incredible stuff. Yeah. But great work on that box by Georgia Southern. Now, and did you see it, Jeff? Handwritten note. Once again, I'll tell you, I got a lot of flack for that when I brought up the handwritten note about 3 years ago, Jeff.
Well, it wasn't by me. It was by one member in particular.
Yeah. Anyway, what else we got?
Last one. Our boy Terry Johnson checking in again.
5 guys. Just came back from this weekend of watching the Shedeur Sanders NFL draft. Very bummed that Nick Nash did not get drafted. He did get picked up by a team. But I just think it's frustrating that regardless of where a player comes from, they can have the most yards, touchdowns, and receptions in FBS football, and just because of the patch they wear on their chest, they don't get drafted. And they're an All-American player. It's kind of frustrating. Same thing for Sean Dolak. Happy he got picked up by somebody, and Nick Nash, Sean Dolak are going to make some GMs and coaches very happy, but the fact that players like that do not get drafted, it's a very frustrating thing. You have all the statistics, and, regardless of competition, you should be considered. You got guys from William and Mary, North Dakota State, and I understand those are, good FCS teams, and, I know we don't want to crap on quote-unquote smaller schools because G5 teams get, crapped on for being small schools, but still, they put people in the NFL get drafted, how come we can't do the same on a consistent basis? But either way, very disappointing in that not that many NFL Group of 5 players got drafted overall in the draft. I think less than 25 or something like that. I know less than 30 got drafted in this year's draft, but constant players just transfer out, maybe they get drafted, and they really don't. And I was surprised to see no Cajun players got drafted. I thought our best chance was our All-American kicker, Kenny Almendaris. Thought he was going to get drafted, but they drafted Kenny Almendaris was an All-American kicker, and they drafted the second-team All-American kicker from Arizona. He got drafted. And I think that when you compare the two, kicker is a specialist. It shouldn't even matter. You're just kicking a ball. It doesn't matter the level of competition. It doesn't matter how consistent you make the kick. So, I don't know. It's just a very frustrating thing not seeing that many players that deserve to get drafted but really don't. But either way, it was fun to see Shedeur Sanders get humbled. I hope he does well in the NFL, and I really do hope that he does well for the Browns. I hope this humbles him. Either way, happy to see Genty go for your Raiders, Murph, and I'm happy you're happy, and I'm going to be thinking that the Raiders are going to be contenders with Genty and Max Crosby leading that team. But Either way, God bless Group of 5. God bless Group of 5 guys. Go Cajuns.
Appreciate you, Terry. Had a couple, I think 6 total Cajuns signed free agent deals. Ben Wooldridge is with the Patriots. That's interesting. See if he can make that roster. Had a few others, players as well. But how about that, though? The Raiders could potentially have Crosby and Genty, 2 best players on the team, maybe a year or 2 down the road.
And they got the underwear deal.
Yeah.
Isn't that Max Crosby's underwear company that he signed Genty to the NIL deal for? I don't know about you, Jeff, but I'd model some damn underwears for a sponsorship deal.
Sprouse, I'd do just about anything to get a damn.
I'd drink the Eagle Creek water. I mean, I would model some. What is it? Saks? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Saks underwear.
Might have to get me a pair.
I might have to. They're probably $40 a pair.
You're probably right.
Underwear's gone up. I get that pair of thieves from Target. It's good underwear.
See, just high dollar. I'm the old classic Hanes,
Reebok. Fruit of the Loom. I wear often too.
Honestly, it's whatever Walmart has. To be quite frankly honest with you,
Reebok you get for the workouts.
They got some,
Reebok has upgraded now. They got some good gear at Walmart. Get some.
I got some nice shorts.
Shirt.
Reebok, pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they do. But anyway, that's all we got on voicemails, Jeff.
That's it.
That's all we got for you guys tonight. We will be back next week. We got to turn out some more coaches' interviews. We'll be working on some of that. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share the Group of 5 Guys with your friends. That's all we got. Have a good rest of the week.